Hello and welcome back to the Fight and Talk 2 channel. We are back making some content. We had a couple of weeks off. The eloquent analyst has been isolating for the 15,000th time. And George, over in Casual Crush Corner, has been enjoying the sunshine down on the southwest coast, I believe it was. Where were you, George?
Correct. Yeah, Cornwall. That is the southwest of England.
Southwest of England. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. And the eloquent analyst, how's isolation number 5 been for you, my friend?
Number four, yeah, five, four. I'm not too sure. Everyone around me seems to be catching COVID except for me, and it's getting rather frustrating because every time something, I like get out for like you do like a 10 minute, 10 minute. You do a 10-day stint when you have to self isolate, and so I've had to do that twice in within 1 month. I got out. I literally was out for one day, went to work, and then 2 hours. Like I had one day at work. The next day, I had lunch with someone, and they tested positive. So I had to then do another 10 days in self isolation, even though I don't have COVID. So interesting, interesting times at the moment. But yeah, I'm rather sick of my room and sick of myself. So ready to go back to work, which I do tomorrow. So ready to get out there and actually feel like I've got a purpose for my day.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. And I mean, after Till's performance last night, I can imagine being isolated for 4 or 5, 6, 7 times wouldn't be too bad for him because he could focus on whatever he needs to focus on, which is clearly quite a lot. But we're going to get back to that later in the show. George, you love the UK fighters, right? And Jack Shaw is well up there on the list, man. Tell me about his performance from last night.
Yeah, man, I love the UK fighters. We should all love them though, right? Because we're obviously based in Britain. We should be, cheering for our own. And Jack Shaw is fast becoming one of the elite guys. I mean, yet again, he showed just pure dominance in the wrestling. He's showing better and better stand up. Okay, admittedly against a guy who obviously came off the was it Tough? I think he came off of. I think he was from Tough. So they dragged him in because his original opponents couldn't make it for whatever reason, COVID or visa. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, look, Jack Shaw again just carries on the kind of like the train keeps on rolling for him. And what I like about Jack Shaw and obviously about Tom Aspinall as well, which we'll talk about later, is that these guys aren't in a massive rush. They're quite willing to just take the slow kind of train forwards and just like allow kind of time to get better and better. I mean, I did see that he called out Song Yadong after the fight. Interesting. He also called out Chito Vera, another interesting one. Kind of guys in the range if he wants to start getting ranked. But in terms of the performance, it was exactly what you want to see from Jack Shaw. Really, it's the wrestling is getting better and better, which for this country is quite rare. You don't see many good wrestlers come out of the UK. And the stand-up is getting much better as well. He's becoming a really, really good all-round mixed martial artist. And hopefully we'll see him before the end of the year again.
So there's a lot of great wrestlers coming out of that side of the country. But why is Darren Till not going and training with these guys in North Wales? I think it is, right?
Yeah, man. And Liverpool to North Wales ain't far away. It's only like an hour and a half drive. It seemed quite sensible maybe to head down the road and ask what Jack Shaw's up to and how good and how he's doing it. So, yeah. Obviously we'll talk about Darren Till and the wrestling later and what we think best move forward for him. But yeah, he certainly could do getting a bit better at his wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a very, very good night for the UK fighters, wasn't it? Obviously, we had Meatball Molly as well. Prath, what do you think of her performance? Because she looked like she was getting rocked pretty hard in the first opening minutes in the first round, and then she managed to turn it on, and obviously got a very emotional victory as well. And I believe she got 50 Gs as well for her performance last night.
Happy days, man. Yeah, great performance. Scrappy is the word that they kept using on the broadcast, and that's exactly the word that describes her so well. It feels like she's one of those fighters that has to take a couple of hits in the first round and then come back and become more savage, and she does, and she's a unit as well. Like I was watching the fights with a casual fan, and they noted straight away. They were like, "Oh my god, like she is thick, like she like noticeably so over the Korean fighter. I can't pronounce her name." And so yeah, literally tough performance, just showed all of the skills that she had, and kind of came away with a comfortable victory there. I was really impressed, and just another notch in the belt for Molly McCann. I know she didn't get a win in quite a long time as well, so great feeling, and to win alongside some of her teammates and fellow Liverpool fighters, not Darren Till, but like Paddy. And so, she was cage-side for Paddy Pimblett and was able to celebrate that victory with another fellow Liverpool fighter, and it was cool. And I think when you have like a community of your fighters that are together on a fight card, like it's awesome to see the other guys get the same victories. You see a lot of the times when the blue side locker room and stuff like that, when they get a lot of victories, they go back and they celebrate with each other, and that's what you kind of saw here a little bit. Again, shame. This is going to be a running theme throughout the talking about most of these fights, because most of them involve British fighters winning, except for Darren Till. So, just man, it hurts. It hurts
really
a lot.
It really does. But my question to you is: Molly McCann is, a fantastic fighter. She's still very young as well in her career, still very early on in her UFC career. Her style and the way she comes across, will that ever do her justice against some of the top of the division? The top of the division is full of absolute murderers in all the female divisions. Is she going to get to a point where she's like, right, I've reached my physical peak here, and I cannot get past kind of like, number 8, number 9, because she just will not make it through?
I mean, obviously, from our perspective, we can sit back objectively and look at someone like Molly McCann and say, okay, will she have the skills to dethrone someone like Valentina Shevchenko, who's so technically sound? The answer, in short, is no. And I think as fans, we can look at that, but you got to think about from the fighter's perspective. They honestly believe that they are the greatest thing, and they will come through, and they will be the change. They will be the one that dethrones the champion. So I can understand in her mindset, even when look at Till, man. Look, he took in quite a few losses here. He posted the picture with
Bisping and Charles
Oliveira. Bisping and Charles Oliveira, and that's just like the mindset of a fighter. Like, okay, no matter if I lose, I'm going to come back and win and learn and be better and things like that. Do I see Molly McCann incorporating a style that will make her stand out from the others? Probably not. She kind of has a similar style to, I would say, 60%. As just a random number, 60% of the UFC, I would say, kind of employ that same style, quite scrappy, using wrestling sometimes, and just kind of 1 or 2 punches. They don't throw like combination strikes. They throw like 1 punch, wait it back a little bit, get hit, throw another punch, sit back, wait. Like it's a strange kind of fighting style that I think people just fall into. There's no one that really kind of breaks the mold and breaks the pattern. When you get someone like a Sean O'Malley, you get someone who comes through and has such a different style. That's where you can look at someone and go, okay, maybe they have the credentials to get to the top, because it's something that you don't really see in the other fighters. Molly McCann presents the everyday fighter for me, and I just don't see her being able to really transcend in the way that someone, like a Sean O'Malley or a TJ Dillashaw, or, someone that has a very unique fighting style would just be able to present. And I think Valentina Shevchenko is exactly that human being, that unique person, that unique fighting style, that I just don't think these other ladies are just going to be able. I don't think anyone in this division, quite honestly, is really going to have a chance against her, just because of how evolved she is and just how much experience she has. The only person that even came close was Joanna, and Joanna still got smashed. So, yeah, and obviously Nunes, but those were close fights. I would say she was a little bit undersized against Nunes, and that's probably why Nunes was able to control her a little bit more. The second fight was just crap, in my opinion. It was the second fight was just them just kind of walking around in circles. So that was an interesting one, and so yeah, I'm kind of going off on my point here now, but yeah, Molly McCann won't ever be, I would say. I think she'll probably get up, and I think you can have like gritty performances. Like, look at Derek Brunson, right? Derek Brunson is someone who fits that style as well. Quite like a prototypical UFC wrestler, a little bit of boxing, doesn't throw a lot of kicks and stuff like that. And he is still able to grind out victories against like people like Darren Till, who don't have as much experience. And, she'll be that kind of like, you've just come into the UFC. Who do we match you up against? Oh, we'll get you against Molly McCann. that'll kind of be her, like, I think her place in the UFC if I look into the future.
I'm with you. What do you think, George? Because the female divisions are phenomenal at the moment, and they are getting stronger and thicker by the day, as are the females that are inside of them. And do you think Molly is ever going to kind of make a run for the title? I mean, it's hard to say. She's still very early on in her career, but do you see that kind of star quality? You know, I remember telling a casual friend of mine about Israel Adesanya, like 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, when he was like on the prelims. I was like, this dude is going to make it, you know, because you can see him and you can see that. You can see it with his style, his aura when he walks into the octagon and just how he presents himself. But with certain fighters, you just look at them and think, I can't see that little bit extra, you know? What do you think, George?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Prath, really, with Molly McCann. I don't think she'll become a UFC champion. I think once you get up into like the 1% of the 1%ers, this competition gets so hard that, you know, I'm not convinced that maybe Molly McCann has that in her. But I think with people like Molly McCann, they're really great for the UFC. They're really great for us as fans because you know what you're going to get from Molly McCann. You are going to get entertainment value. There is that element to it, and that's super important to this sport. It's super important to the UFC. It's going to be what we talk about in a second with the next guy in Paddy Pimblett. You know, I would question whether he'll become a champion, but the journey along the way will be really fun. Will be quite fun. So, I think with Molly McCann, it's unlikely. I think there's still time to get better. I think she's only 30, so there's still lots of growing time. And I actually don't think she's been that terrible in the UFC. I think people give her a bit of a hard time. You know, she's had some tough losses, but she's had some all right wins as well in the UFC. I think people like kind of think of her and think like she's barely got a win, but she had a little run at one point and then had a couple of losses and is now starting to get back on track a little bit, you know, with this win last night. So, you know, but in terms of becoming a champion, I don't see it.
And again, I actually want to say as well, like, just no offense, like, it's just when you objectively look at it, that's kind of what I would say. Looking at, you know, the other fighters that you kind of see across the board, you just got to compare their styles and what you see in these fighters, and that's kind of what you say it as you see it.
Yeah, and I think you can see people from the off as well. I think, like, obviously, like, we love the sport and we watch it like every week. We can see people who you think that guy's got, or that guy or that girl's got real potential. Like when I think about Jack Shaw, I see a guy who, for me, is undoubtedly going to be a top 5 guy at some point in his career. He just looks like he's got the capability to do that. While with Molly McCann, I don't think she has, but that's not a problem. That's no, like, you know, not everyone can be a top 5 contender or a UFC champion, you know. But like I said, Molly McCann will provide entertainment, and she does pretty much every fight she has. So, you know, she has that for her.
Can you just imagine a world where every single fighter on the UFC roster was literally, you know, the top 5%? You know, the ranking system, you know, as fluffy as it is now, the ranking system would just be unbelievable. You know, every single fight that got put together, you'd think, I don't know. Would you see more draws if everyone was evenly matched? Still probably not. It would still sway one way or the other. But it would just be a crazy, crazy world. And it was a crazy world last night when Paddy Pimblett jumped into the octagon. Wow, what a performance. You know what? We were all talking about it last night, and I think it's his fluffy hair. It's the haircut. When it looked like he was getting hit, but he wasn't. He was like faint. He was, you know, almost like parrying shots and, you know, rolling and dipping and whatever and slipping. And it was just looked like he was getting hit because his hair was just all over the gaff. You know what I mean? But what a guy. What a guy. He's actually, I saw something this morning that he'd now surpassed Leon Edwards with the amount of followers that he has on Instagram. I mean, how big of a kick in the nuts is that for Leon Edwards? The guy has been struggling his entire career. And this guy from Liverpool comes out with one fight in the UFC and has over 250,000 followers on Instagram, surpassing
334K.
After last night, that's all it was.
Do you know what? When he was walking to the cage last night, I checked this. He had 21,000 when he walked to the cage last night. That is unbelievable.
So if you think about the amount of views and the amount of eyes that were on him last night, obviously the fans prior to last night would have been the UK fans, would have been us, regular people like us over in the UK that saw him on Cage Warriors and thought, wow, what a guy. He was in Cage Warriors a little bit too long for me. I feel like he could have come over just a touch earlier in his career and in his life journey of fighting. But wow, he has just opened. He's just smashed through a door in the American audience and gained a lot of fans last night. But Prath, tell me, what did you think of his performance? Because he was getting socket, and he wasn't blocking at all. He was getting ripped up in the first couple of minutes of that fight. It was very, very entertaining. And then the end of it was just scrap central, and it was like one clean right hand. It was glorious.
I was saying to these guys before when we were talking about it, I think before the fight was going down, that I thought he was gonna get slept or he's gonna lose. And in those first couple of minutes, I was like, here we go. He's gonna. This is typically what happens. We cheer for a guy. We look at that like Darren Till, for instance, man. Like I'm like, you cheer for him. You're like, yeah. But do you know what? Hell of a comeback. Was able to recover pretty well, I would say, from most of those shots as well. The first round was pretty scary. Luigi as well is just great. He used great combinations. He used quite a mix of strikes as well, which I really like. A lot of kicks to the body, which you don't see a lot of guys use, which I think is such an underrated tool, man. Punches to the body are great, but kicks to the body just have so much impact. And I think it can just you see a lot of guys get shut off from that alone. So you could see it lit up his midsection. It was all red and he looked like it hurt quite a lot. Comes back and just, man, I don't know what it was just chaos. There's no technicality to it. It was just chaos. And he landed some great strikes in there. I thought he looked like he had more gas in the tank than Luigi did in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what kind of led to Luigi getting finished there. I think he just got very, very tired, and I think Paddy just overwhelmed him. And the speed of where the strikes were coming through when he was in that kind of final couple moments was amazing, man. Great finishing instinct, and that's something that you want to see in a fighter that's on the rise now, man. You want to see them being able to go in there and have that finishing instinct, know when someone's hurt, don't back up, don't go into the cage and clinch them against the cage. You want to get those last couple of strikes in. You've got the referees hovering over your shoulder. You can feel them near you. You just got to go get those last couple of strikes in, and he did that perfectly, man. So great performance. I doubted him. I got to say, I doubted him. Like I do for, whenever a Conor fight's on, or the people that I want to hate on and don't want them to win, and they do good, I got to give him his props. So Paddy Pimblett, salut, man. That was a hell of a performance.
Now, George, you were completely the opposite, right? You were like, Paddy is going to get this all day long. Paddy the baddie. You are fully on the hype train. You have been for a very, very long time. Now, his performance was scrappy. Now, fighting someone in the gentleman he did last night, you can get away with it. You can get away with being a little bit scrappier, especially in the first fight. You're fighting someone that's maybe not as technically sound on the feet as you. You've got a few advantages there, but it's still a big stage to be stepping on. As he moves up the ranks and as he climbs up the ranks now, will that kind of style that he went into the fight with last night prevail against someone that has a little bit more of a technical skill than he has?
The answer to that in short is no, it won't. I mean, in terms of last night for your debut, it worked out perfectly for him. This kind of ridiculous, everything was perfect. I mean, they gave him all week long before the fight, it was just Paddy Pimblett. And then obviously like the walkout, which obviously deserves a crowd, is mental in itself. He is completely crazy. And then the fight was completely mad as well. And instantly though, like eyeballs turn to that though, and everyone goes, well, who the hell is this guy? He's making his debut. He's mental. And then afterwards with Michael Bisping and in all the interviews afterwards, he's selling himself instantly. I mean, to Dana, he is gold. He's gold dust, really. But when it comes to who he fights going forwards, I mean, he admits it himself. He loves to be a brawler. He needs to learn to be less of a brawler and a bit more like savvy and clever with how he fights on the feet. We all know that on the floor he's a wizard. He's unbelievably good on the floor. So people know that they can't really end up in that world with him. But on the feet, always been. I mean, even in cage wars across the last 5 years, he's been this kind of chin up in the air, like I'm just going to stand there and swing with you, and that is not going to work when he starts to fight better people in the UFC. So he is going to have to go and learn a slightly different style. But I mean, I don't think Paddy's stupid. I don't think his coaches are either, and I think they'll know that. And at 26 years old, the only thing I would say is let's not. I know it's all exciting, but let's not rush him, because if we rush him,
Paddy Pimblett versus Dustin Poirier tomorrow.
yeah, no, if we
book it now.
Book it for the title.
I just think they just let him have 3 or 4 years, to build himself through. And if he continues to get better and build himself through, man, Paddy Pimblett at kind of 30 years old, 31 years old could be a hell of a mixed martial art talent in the UFC. He's got everything that you could possibly want. He's entertainment value at 1,000%. And the journey is going to be one fun ride. There's going to be the highest of highs and the lowest of lows of Paddy Pimblett. And God knows where it's going to end up. But, man, you might as well get aboard the train, because he's going to be around for the next 10 years.
That's it. And it's funny to say that a brawler needs to change his style. Can you imagine going back in time and saying to someone like Chuck Liddell, Chuck, mate, less of a brawler. We need to see a little bit of technique from you. It'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Nah, it's not happening. Chin in the air. Yeah. I'm swinging, and for everything, someone's going down, whether it's me or him. You imagine how much the game has changed in this amount of time. It's insane. Insane.
It has to.
The bargain bin kind of fighters that we have on the roster now, no offense to anyone, if you'd have put them kind of 10, 15 years ago, they'd be top percent, man. They'd be echeloned. You know what I mean? It's insane.
Yeah.
It really, really
and
is.
Just the skill level and the talent of the recruitment of these fighters into the UFC as well has been fantastic for the most part. But they're the one that kind of sits above everybody else as well, so they can kind of hoover a lot of that talent in. So yeah, mixed feelings about that, because I would love to see them fight in other organizations as well and have those cross promotional fights and stuff like that. So maybe one day, who knows? But I think the UFC is quite stingy on that, so probably not. And also, can we just talk about Paddy Pimblett in lightweight division as well? Could you go into a more deeper division and full of more killers?
I was about to say that as well. He's obviously gone into the division with absolute killers. But one criticism of Paddy Pimblett was in Cage Warriors that he didn't look after himself that well. He out on the lash, proper kind of scouse geezer. But he looked
on the lagers.
I was going to say, I was waiting for Paddy on the lagers. Why?
Paddy on the lagers. It was Paddy on the lagers. And he looked unbelievable last night. He looked like incredible shape. He looked like he was able to cope with the 155 kind of division. He looked like he'd filled out. He looks like I know you said that maybe he come a bit late, and I kind of agree with that. Maybe he's come maybe a bit late, but I think if he had come 5 years ago when the UFC originally wanted him, it would have been way too soon. Mm-hmm. I feel like right moment now for Paddy Pimblett. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I'm just aboard the hype train. I really am. I'd have him UFC London in the co-main position, UFC London, before the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't take many licks at all last night. He looked surprisingly unscathed for a guy that looked like he was getting quite a lot of jabs to the face and quite a lot of head movement was going. He didn't look too bad.
Yeah. Well, Scousers don't get knocked out, apparently.
I did hear that, but I'm pretty sure Masvidal knocked out Till very, very distinctively.
I remember that as well. And I think probably Paddy's going to have to stop saying that when he gets knocked out at some point, which probably will happen in his UFC career. So
it's one of them.
Please, Sean Shelby, this is a direct message to Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard. Can we please just get him fighting wrestlers? And so he can just slap on his jiu-jitsu, get the wins that he needs to, do him like he did Connor, You gave Connor Brandao, you gave Connor Denisova. Just do our boy a little bit of a favor, and we'll return it. I believe in the fact that Paddy Pimblett will bring people to these events, like Connor did as well. Like Connor was able to bring the Irish out. Like the people from Liverpool are rabid fans, and they'll want to go out, and the UK will go out. And I think if they need a guy to get behind. Darren Till was our guy to get behind, and there's not many other ones as well. So we need someone that is really like out there and is really representing us in the right way. So
I think
Paddy on the lagers, but Paddy maybe not on all the lagers.
No, we'll leave that to Jerry because he's a problem.
He can handle it.
I think after last night as well, I reckon Paddy could tell the O2 out now already. I reckon he's actually already got that kind of star power.
100%.
I reckon that's the kind of crazy of level he's already at, which is why they need to be super careful. They don't book him in with some murderer and it starts to go a bit south quite quickly.
So what you're saying is Paddy Pimblett versus Dustin Poirier, Anfield. Let's go.
Yes,
mate. If at some point in my life that happens, then that will be amazing. But that's a long way off. Yeah, that's a long way.
Paddy versus Connor.
Oh,
straight in, just straight off the bat.
Oh my god! How did I not even? Oh my god!
Just completely circled around it. I was like, "What?
Holy
Paddy
shit.
versus Connor in the O2 London? Like that would be insane."
What?
Book it.
Come on. What's the park that he always wants to fight at that park? I forget what it's called. Like, is it Croke Park? Is the one that he's always like, "I want to fight at Croke Park."
Yeah, man.
No idea. That's just a park around the corner from his house. Like he just doesn't want to travel.
Oh, I see. Makes sense. I mean, they've made this guy travel all around the world, so having a fight around the corner isn't too bad for a guy that's going to make you millions and millions anyway.
Exactly. It's like me saying I want to fight in Gunnersbury. It's just around the corner, man. It's just close.
Like a festival, like a fight festival.
Yeah, that's it. Loads of them. Loads of fight festivals, all on the go.
Interesting. Light bulb, man. There's a light bulb moment.
Let's go. We'll talk about the next fight because Khalil Roundtree Jr. Something very, very, I don't know. It's a topical moment. This, with the oblique kick directly to the side of the knee. Obviously, Bukauskas was unable to continue the fight after that. Now, gentlemen, Prath, we're going to start with you, please, man. What do you think of this technique? Because I saw Bilal Muhammad posted on Twitter regarding this should be banned, this should be illegal. He destroyed his knee. Obviously, it happened to Darren Till as well. While we're on the subject of Darren Till, obviously fighting on this card when he fought against Robert Whittaker, Robert Whittaker did a similar strike, which immobilized him. Now, in my, humble opinion, it's completely fine. But Prath, tell me what you think, and we'll dive into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I kind of agree in the sense that it's just another move that people are looking to take away or add, like the 12-6 elbow, like this or that. I think it's just another one that people want to have a debate on the how devastating a technique it is. I'm really surprised that not many fighters actually really use it. It's such a devastating technique that I think that when John Jones was fighting all those legends, the Rampage Jacksons and the Machidas and all those, as he was going through his run, that was the thing that every single one of them fighters were talking about afterwards. They were like, "Oh man, John Jones, he was a smart fighter, he was really athletic, but man, those kicks to the knees were the worst." And then you see it, some of them will use it afterwards as well, knowing how much damage it does. Stephen Thompson had it done by Darren Till, and then Stephen Thompson was using it. And there was another one. There was another one. There was another one. I think it was someone that fought John Jones. I want to say it was like Anthony Smith or Anthony Smith.
Thiago Santos. They both destroyed each other's knees, didn't they?
And then Thiago Santos uses that kick quite a lot as well. I think it's one of the more devastating. It obviously depends on where it lands on the leg, and I think maybe people don't have the intent to do as much harm, but it's a fist fight with rules, and those rules, as long as it's within the rules, then you should be able to do what you got to do. Until the referee pulls you off. I think that's ultimately the objective of a fight at the end of the day. So I'm all for keeping them in, but just know that they are devastating, and I am just really surprised that not many fighters really use them. Is it a morality thing? Is it something like they know that they can? Because it's not like like not everybody could do a tornado 360 kick. Some people can. Sean O'Malley probably can, yeah. But the oblique kick is something that everybody could do, but you don't see a lot of people use it. Is that because they feel like they know it's a technique that would do that much damage and things like that, or is it just that it's not something that comes to their mind? So that's one interesting kind of way to think about it. But yeah, I'm all for keeping it.
Yeah, because John Jones, he almost used it. He used it from the back leg, and it would be more like.
Oh, sorry. The example I had was Robert Whittaker and Yoel Romero, right? So Yoel Romero used it against Robert Whittaker, and then Robert Whittaker started using it against Darren Till, used it against Israel Adesanya, and he just you see how that worked so effectively for him, and it fits in his fighting style where he's very much trying to. He covers quite a lot of distance, right? He kind of stands back a little bit, uses a bit of a karate stance, and then kind of dots in and out. So I think that fits well with his fighting style.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say John Jones used it from the back leg almost and kind of kicked with the inside of the knee, whereas the ones that we saw yesterday were very much kind of almost like a kickboxing kind of jump side kick, kind of like a slide kick. And it was just... wrong place, wrong time. I think, if your leg's in a certain way, and they were over the logos as well. And I know Bisping's spoken about this in other fights where he said those parts of the logos are either, you get more traction or you get less traction depending on how it's been printed. So I don't understand why they would do that, because it's almost putting the fighters at a disadvantage, because they could be over them and be able to slide better when they're on the ground, or perhaps kick out of something better if they were over the logos.
And if you think about it, they're cleaning the octagon between every round, but not every round, every fight. So that's even creating more friction or making it more slippery. And you see, especially the fighters in the later fights of the cards are noticeably slipping a little bit more or not able to keep their footing as much.
Yeah, it's a weird.
All these things add up.
It is very strange, very, very strange. I don't know what they'll do about that moving forward. But George, tell me, what's your 2 cents on this, please, mate? Because I'm pretty sure it's going to be very similar to ours. But have you got some kind of fully right wing objection to it?
No, as Masvidal would say, they're super necessary. In my opinion, I don't like the idea of banning them, because I think you then get into a super dangerous game where once they're banned, somebody else will say, well, this should be banned. And then suddenly we start losing the sport altogether because this is getting banned left, right, and centre. And we just
start watching boxing again.
Yeah, exactly. Start watching that.
They're going to get to the point where they're like, okay, you can't kick them in the head anymore.
Oh,
okay, then we're just doing what we're doing here then, lads.
Point kickboxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there's just no. So I don't get it. If you don't like it, then find. If you don't like it, fight it, then find ways to defend against it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I saw something recently about back to John Jones again, because obviously he was doing a lot of things that a lot of people weren't doing. When he was clinched with people, he would pull his whole body weight downwards to hyperextend the shoulders and the tendons of the shoulders and the arms, the elbows, and everything. And it's like in boxing as well. There was a fight recently where the fighter was just punching, I think it was Canelo. He was just punching the guy's arms. And it was like, well, why is he punching his arms? And it's like, if your arms hurt, you can't throw punches yourself. So how can you win the fight if you can't throw punches when you are in a boxing fight? So it's like, whatever you can do to win the fight, do it. Do you know what I mean? Even if the opponent is blocking every single punch you throw, you're still hitting their arms. I've boxed a lot, and getting hit on the arms, it still hurts. Do you know what I mean? So whatever you can do to win, man, whatever you can do to win. So I completely agree with you, George. But last night, obviously, this is going to completely immobilize him for a long time. Is that a bad thing?
Well, it's the game, man. This is the game, isn't it? It's the game. They all sign up to play the game. So you know what you're signing up for when you go into the cage. So it's part of the deal, man. It could have happened to anybody last night.
Yeah.
So.
And it happens all the time. It happens in training camps. It happens before the fight. It happens where they slip out of the bathtub on the way to do the weight cut, and these things happen.
it's like Darren Till, right? So Darren Till obviously was in training camp for Vittori. Like a few weeks before the fight, he breaks his collarbone. It happens. He obviously then, Vittori goes off and fights for the title. And obviously then Till ends up with Brunson, and here we are now. So, it's just part of the game. It's part of this, sport that we all love. It's just part and parcel of the deal, really.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And devastating blows leads us on perfectly to Aspinall versus Spivak last night. And what a combination that was. Kind of like beautiful clinch position, knee through the middle, and then just no one ever thinks about the elbow. Do you know what I mean? Leon Edwards has caught many a person with the elbow. Gunnar Nelson, when he caught him with like a step-in elbow, was glorious back in the day. And this one yesterday was just fantastic. A little bit of it took a little while for Spivak's mind to go, I think we've been hurt quite a lot here. And we're on the floor. Okay, we're on the floor. It's not the biggest delay we've ever seen, but wow. I mean, what a fight. I mean, I really, really enjoyed that. He's going to make some serious noise in the heavyweight division, and to have such a cool, calm and collected head on his shoulders and say, you know what, if I'm 12, I want to fight 11. If I'm 11, I want to fight 10. What a guy. What a guy. I think he's going to do very, very well in the heavyweight division. He looked super light yesterday as well. Very, very light on his feet. Almost similar to kind of how Garn has been fighting recently, with that kind of very light bouncing constantly. Prath, what do you think of his performance yesterday? And do you think Ivanov is going to be a good challenger for him? Is it Ivanov Blagoy or
Blagoy Ivanov? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Blagoy has been a bit of a weird one because he was initially presented as a striker, but he's been developed into more of a wrestler. I believe he trains out of American Top Team, which that's their kind of bread and butter. With that in mind, I think Tom Aspinall would match up great against him, and I think he has got a bright future. And I do love his approach of taking it one fight at a time. Why rush? What is the point of rushing, man? He's only 28 years old. He's got so much time ahead of him. And these fights will be there. All the guys that are ahead of him anyway, they're like 36, 37 years old, so they're probably going to retire in the next year or two. And I think he has the speed advantage over a lot of these guys. I think probably one of the tougher matchups for him will probably end up being Gone. But I think outside of that, I think he's going to be able to be very quick, very agile against quite a lot of the guys who are very, just slow, and I wouldn't even say methodical. Like look at Derek Lewis, for instance, right? He's quite slow. I wouldn't say he's overly methodical with his approach, but obviously he's looking for shots and he's feeling out quite a lot. And I think Tom Aspinall, with his bouncing style, in and out a little bit more, kind of like Till in his style as well. I think that's quite a bit of what you see, that kind of very, how can I say, open stance, I want to say. More so that, you see a lot of guys when, the typical fighting style where they've got quite close to their face, and they want to protect themselves from those punches, which is obviously very key. But I just love seeing unique fighters, and Tom Aspinall is 100% that guy. And I'm very excited to see where he goes, man. In the next 2 years or so, I think he's gonna have a really, really cool rise to the top, and he might take some losses in this time. But I think he's the kind of character that, man, he's just going to be able to bounce back so well from those. And, surrounding himself with someone like Darren Till as well, who, even though he's like a character on Instagram, you can tell he's very, very humble. He loves his fighters, loves his teammates, will look after them and share philosophies and things like that. So I think he's surrounding himself with a really good group. And I think what would be really, really awesome here, and obviously this is something we're going to dive into with Darren Till, but I'd love to see both guys just go to kind of a bit more of a wrestling camp, maybe stay with Calbon, but I think that would just add so much more to their game. And, Tom Aspinall now, all you've really seen of him is his hands. And I know he's got a jiu-jitsu, I would say a bit more of a jiu-jitsu background, if I'm correct. I believe his dad is like a black belt or something.
Coach, yeah. His dad is a jiu-jitsu coach, yeah. But he beat who did he beat? He beat the old dude. Who's the old guy? He beat him with a rear naked choke, no?
Arlovsky.
The old
Arlovsky.
Wow.
He rear naked choke.
Former UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovsky, the old bloke.
The old dude, man, he's like 44. No, he's, we know that he should have
He is.
retired. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why he's still fighting.
That's a bizarre one to me. But yeah, that's the only thing I would love to see. I guess just more from the British fighters in general, just to round out their game a little bit more and just have that. I think just seeing fighters from a different perspective and living in a different perspective and seeing a different perspective from the one that you have. Not saying that the one that you have is bad in any way, shape, or form, but just being able to see things from a different perspective would be really, really beneficial for him. But I appreciate that he wants to take it one fight at a time. And I think that will also help him kind of broaden his horizons and take his time getting to the top, which is what we want to see here. So big ups, amazing performance, like really, really awesome. And like, I love his personality and I'm gravitating towards him. So I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
Yeah, I think, you know what, I think it looked very easy for him yesterday. You know, Spivak was supposed to be his toughest challenge to date, you know, and it was like, man, it didn't really look that tough.
I think that's what they kind of have to say to him. But I think every fight going on from here on out will be his toughest fight, because he's only going to be fighting real, you know, as he keeps going to the top here, he's going to start breaking to the top 10 and fight the real tough guys of this division. So they're probably going to say that on every single one of his fights.
But then not being 265 pound on the money and being 5'10" and not looking like a melted potato is obviously going to serve him a lot of, you know, advances moving forward, because he's very athletic as well. He's very athletically built, you know, he's in shape. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's definitely in shape. And maybe we haven't seen enough of his ground game or his wrestling game because he hasn't really needed to. He hasn't been challenged in a way that he's needed to bring out that side of him, you know?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. The scary thing about Tom Aspinall is that actually his ground stuff is better than his striking.
Yeah.
He's like a really legit jiu-jitsu black belt. So, like, I feel like Tom Aspinall, the most exciting thing about him is his fight IQ. Like, he's so clever. And every single time he fights, he gets me more and more excited to think about how one day we're going to potentially see Garn against Aspinall, and what an unbelievable kind of chess match that will end up being between the two of them. Like, they're like the epitome of the new modern day heavyweight, aren't they? These two. So, I like how, but Tom Aspinall was great though. I mean, I like the kind of idea that he's just going to gradually work his way through this, and he'll get there in the end. I think he'll find this easy until he gets to the top 5. I think he'll get to the top 5 pretty comfortably. I think he's going to make it look real simple. And then obviously the fights against those guys, once you hit the 1% of the 1%, obviously it starts to become much more difficult. But I think he's going to make this look pretty easy over the next couple of years until he gets to that point.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But like I say, with such a patient kind of head on his shoulders, he knows he's not going to fly up the ranks too quickly. But with kind of knockout after knockout after knockout, it's going to be tough not to be propelled straight to the top, you know, because his corner are going to be like, hey, look, we're being offered, you know, Derek Lewis or, you know, Volkov or someone. Are we going to take them? Well, we're going to have to. They're not offering anyone else, you know.
But I think he does well against those kind of guys, man, because I think he's got a good game plan going into it as well. Like, it seems like, you know, some people just go in and like, okay, here's my skill set. I'm going to go in and use my skill set to win this fight. It seems like he does come in quite prepared, because I feel like a lot of you know, like if you just look at here, this fight from the last fight, the shot selections were much different. And I think that it's purely from studying the fighters. I would say, like, I'm just looking at the heavyweight rankings now, and obviously the top 5 of the top 5 will just kind of put them in their own category and just put them to one side. Outside of that, I got to agree with George and yourself, which is that I think he's going to be able to kind of fly past a lot of these guys. The only one that I really think would maybe give him a little bit of trouble is Chris Daukaus, because I think Chris Daukaus is someone that could maybe match him jiu-jitsu in the jiu-jitsu a little bit more than the others. But outside of that, I think he's just got, if he goes in with the Derek Brunson game plan, as we're going to dub it going forward, and just kind of chain wrestles and holds people down, he can beat Jairzinho, Rise and Strike. He could probably beat like a Martin Tybura and those types. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm just hoping, like, okay, you beat this guy, here's Stipe Miocic. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, completely. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Now, the next subject is something that we've been touching on throughout the entire episode, and it is obviously Darren Till. Now, it's annoying because we're going to talk more about Darren Till than we are about Derek Brunson, because he is a homegrown hero, and it is massively, massively frustrating. You know, a couple of years ago, I was really excited to watch the UFC on UK time. It was great. Darren Till was fighting on the main event. He was fighting against this guy called Masvidal. No one really knew who he was because he'd had this massive sabbatical where he was doing not a great amount. And then Darren Till got completely wiped out. And since then, I just feel like he has never been quite the same. It's just very, very sad to see. And, you know, I see a lot of stuff on social media as well about him being an overhyped fighter. And there's only so long you can defend someone for being overhyped before the amount of losses just racks up and you think, oh, come on, you're making it very, very difficult to be a fan now. Making it very, very difficult for us out here, Darren. Very difficult. You know, does he just quit everything and become a podcast host, you know, or just start a comedy YouTube channel? I don't know, man, because it seems that he has more success online than he does in the octagon for some reason. What a shame last night. What a shame. It did not look like at any point that he was going to win that fight. Even when he jumped for the guillotine, when he had Brunson hurt, I still didn't think he had it at all. You know, even when he jumped for it and he got down, he didn't have his legs clasped or anything. And you're like, I don't know what's going on. You spent the first 20 minutes of this fight on the ground, what felt like 20 minutes getting completely dominated, and you've jumped on the ground. I don't understand. I really, really don't. George, talk me through where Darren went wrong yesterday and what he should do next, in your humble opinion, my friend.
Well, I think you kind of got it right, really. There is clearly a mental block with Darren Till, and I think that's been openly talked about by himself and by people who know him really well, that there's a bit of a mental block. And that initially has been just with him, people saying he needs to throw his hands more, you know, before he kind of had that loss to Masvidal, where he had that kind of a bit more of a free-flowing state to him. I think it's actually more than that. I feel like the all-round game, it's like he's starting to self-doubt himself all the time. And that is, I think, when you're really honest and you look at the fight last night, I feel that it sticks out even more that there's self-doubt everywhere. It's like he doesn't really believe in himself. And now all week, he convinced me that he'd kind of got back to where he needed to be. And leading up to the fight, I was convinced that we're going to see a brand new version of Darren Till, he was going to knock Brunson out. He'd get on the microphone, say he wants Adesanya, and we'd be talking about him in a title fight next year. But there is clearly, I think, a mental block. And I don't doubt Darren Till skill-wise. I think skill-wise, he's got the ability to be right at the top end of the division in terms of the striking side of things. I think he's actually a really interesting matchup for Adesanya because of how good of a striker he is. But I said to you guys earlier on in our WhatsApp group that sometimes in life, when you have a mental block, change of sceneries are the best way to make a difference. Now, I can't really talk about it personally, but I come from a family of professional sportsmen, and I'm pretty sure that everyone in my household who has played professional sport would say when they've had mental blocks, which I know they all have had mental blocks at times in their careers, have said that doing something different, going somewhere else, seeing somebody else has been a catalyst for me to be able to then go back to where I was and make improvements. And when I look at Darren Till, he screams to me of a guy that should not leave Calbon. He should not up sticks and leave forever, but maybe needs a year away, whether that's in Brazil or America or somewhere else in this country, wherever, just to maybe try and not even necessarily to get better skill-wise, but to try and rid himself of the mental block, to see if somebody else can help him. And that's no slight on Colin Heron or anybody at Calbon. They obviously have all got Darren Till's best interest at heart, but there's something at the moment not right about Darren Till, and maybe the change of scenery is the way to go. We all want to see Darren Till become a UFC champion, and I'm sure at some point in these next 8 to 10 years, he'll probably find himself in that position. I'm sure he will find a way to get it done. Like he said, like with his post, right? With Bisping and Oliveira, he knows that the road's going to be long and hard. and it always was probably going to be for Darren Till. I felt the UFC have to take some kind of blame for this because they really did rush him through quite quickly. And that's why I was saying about Paddy Pimblett earlier. Like, it kind of has the same kind of tone to it. Like, yeah, this is really exciting, but let's not go for it too quickly. So, yeah, I feel last night was bitterly disappointing. I'm gutted for Darren Till. Like, it was a gut-wrenching moment, really, because at no point did he look like he was going to win. Even when he clipped Brunson in the third, I was still like, oh, I'm not convinced there. Like, it looked like it was gone completely. And I just hope that over the next kind of like 6, 12, 18 months, he can maybe find a way to get himself back on track. Fight guys lower down. I've seen a lot of people say Kevin Holland wouldn't be a bad fight. I would kind of be up for seeing Kevin Holland. They both like to strike, and that the chit chat between the two of them would be quite a laugh. But I feel that ultimately, I personally feel that going back to Brazil, maybe going to America, would be the right move to make. Brazil probably is the best move because he speaks Portuguese and he's been there before.
He has a kid there.
He's got a child. He's got a family there, really. So I feel like it makes a lot of sense. But whether Darren wants to leave Liverpool, leave his life in Liverpool to go out and do that, I think that's the big question mark. But I think if he was to go and do that, it would be a huge sign of where Darren Till's head is at and his intent to become the best possible mixed martial artist he can be. But yeah, the bottom line is last night was actually pretty gut wrenching, and I really, really feel for Darren Till today.
Yeah, obrigado. Yeah, obrigado. That's your opinion. Prath, tell me, man, where does Darren go from here? Where does Darren go from here, and what happens to his fan base and, you know, the supporters that have stayed with him, and obviously being on this hype train that we were all on when he came into the UFC, being 17-0. And then obviously it just feels like it's a spiral downwards, but, you know, you can never write these people off.
Exactly. And it kind of goes back to that thing we were talking about with Molly McCann and, you know, the mindset of the fighter against, you know, us as the objective armchair quarterback, as they would call it in America. You know, obviously, I think we all have belief in the skill of Darren Till. We know from a striking perspective, he can kind of go out there with anyone and have a great fight. Even the Robert Whittaker fight, he lost it, but man, what a performance. And I think all of the guys in the top of the division, the Paulo Costas, Jared Cannonier, you know, all of these fights are going to be great when they actually end up going down. So I'm excited to see that. But I do think it's time for Darren to take a little bit, I wouldn't say that step down in competition, but just to fight someone that is winnable. Because I think the biggest thing for him is confidence and just having confidence in his fighting style. I do think there is a bit of technique that needs to be addressed in the wrestling. Obviously, Derek Brunson was able to just kind of have his way with Darren Till. And I think that was the bit that was the most gut-wrenching for us as fans, especially fans of Darren Till. I mentioned I was watching the fights with a casual, I wouldn't say a casual fan, someone that was kind of watching it for the first time, really. And they were like asking me, "Oh, who are you supporting?" And I went like, you know, I'm biased as hell, so I said Darren Till because Britain. And as the fight was unfolding, they were like, "Oh, this is just he must be just sitting on the ground, so depressed, like sitting on underneath Derek Brunson, you know, trying to obviously fight the legs and trying to get free and get his foot on the hip and explode out, but just sitting under him, just being so depressed, like." This guy is just sitting on top of me right now, and I can't do sod all. I can't do anything to get up, and I just have to sit here and take it. And that for me is obviously a technique issue, and that is something that needs to be addressed with very good wrestling. And you saw Kevin Holland make that jump there. He went to AKA very temporarily and was able to get some work in there with DC and Deron Wynn, who are all like very acclaimed high school wrestlers and things like that. And I think that he doesn't necessarily need like how can I say, he might not even need a wrestler. He might need a judo guy. He might need something. He needs something that just will allow him to either counter the wrestling or like offset it and be able to take advantage of it, because he's just allowing himself to just get tied up and then Like, he hurt Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson basically ran him across the octagon and just took him down. And he was just being relentless. And that's ultimately what led him to the takedown. It's not like Derek Brunson had like some incredible technique that was so different to the other American wrestlers. He just took him down. He just relentlessly went after him until he took him down. And I think that, someone like Mike Grundy obviously is someone that is very acclaimed in the UK for wrestling, but we need those. There's a reason why America is at the top. You look at Russia. Russia's a great opportunity for him. Sweden. You look at someone like Hamzat Chimaev, who would add so much to his camp, and I think him going out there as well. He's got Gustafsson. He's got amazing people that he could train with, and incredible high-level wrestling. Ilir Latifi, yeah, I think Ilir Latifi is out of American Top Team nowadays, man.
Is he?
Which is what? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I thought he started over in Sweden.
Yeah, he started in Sweden. He started in All Stars with Gustafsson, Jimmy Manoir, and all those guys. And now I'm like 98% sure he's American Top Team now.
But still, the staple would have been those kind of guys. He would,
you know what I mean?
That kind of background.
Exactly, and that it's not like what I'm trying to say here is he doesn't need to go to Brazil. He doesn't need to go to America, but I think that would help his mindset going to somewhere like Brazil. And I agree with George when we were talking about this earlier in the WhatsApp group, just from a mindset perspective, but just also from a technique perspective. Having someone like Charles Oliveira sit down with you. Charles Oliveira is a relentless grappler. When he's in these exchanges, he is deadly for a reason. He's deadly because he knows how to chain different positions and go from side control to back control. Then he's got one arm under, and then he's not getting this arm on the rear naked choke, so he goes for the other arm. Like he can make those decisions, those quick decisions in his mind. And I think having someone like that who can maybe relate to Till as well, and share those experiences, sitting as a champion now, sitting at the top of his division, lightweight division, which is the toughest division, I would say, in the UFC. So I think that would really, really help Till. But it's up to Till. And then also he doesn't need to necessarily go to these places. But I think technique, mindset, the things that really kind of and luck kind of allow you to have success here. So I think if he's able to combine the other two and find that through other people, that would be amazing, man. But man, heartbreaking loss. Great win for Derek Brunson, I've got to say. Obviously, I hate Derek Brunson's guts. Ever since, I've always hated Derek Brunson. I'm not going to lie. He's just like that typical American personality that I just think is so corny and a bit. Even his, when he gets announced and he does that weird little like hand jet. I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm sorry, Derek Brunson. But credit where it's due. He's managed to string together quite a few wins here. He derailed Edmund Shabazian's hype train. He went on and beat Darren Till, who I think still is credited as one of the better fighters in the middleweight division. So does he fight Izzy Adesanya? Probably not. I don't think Izzy Adesanya really cares about Derek Brunson. I think he absolutely destroyed Derek Brunson. I don't see, what we're going to get in the rematch. Oh, he's just going to sit and try and wrestle Izzy for 5 rounds. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point, having fought people like Yoel Romero and stuff like that, getting prepared for someone like a Yoel Romero, you're going to have to get like the best of the best wrestlers. So I'm sure, and Marvin Vettori as well, whose game plan was to just come in and try and wrestle him. I think he doesn't really do anything for Izzy Adesanya. So I just want to see Darren Till get. I'm pretty sure, dude. He gets 1 win, they'll give him a title shot against like anyone. Like if he fights like Uriah Hall beats him, they'll give him a title shot just because Izzy Adesanya wants it.
This is what I'm about to say, right? Adesanya, you asked him right now, would you rather fight Brunson or Till? He'd say, I'd still rather fight Till. How little of interest in fighting. And you're right, literally one. He always seems to be one fight title shot. It might be a bit strong now. He might be a couple away now, but the like Bisping said last night when he was interviewed afterwards, quitters never win. So bottom line is Darren Till's just gonna have to get on with it. Find a way back forward, try and put a few wins together, and I'm sure at some point the title shot at middleweight will come. But who knows? Even I was just thinking then, even going to Renegade down in Birmingham with like Leon Edwards and all that, and the guys down there, what they're doing is pretty incredible. Even going there might be of benefit. I know that Leon Edwards has been going up to Calbon at times. Maybe just going down there, every once in a while and helping yourself with the elite level amount of talent there is at Renegade. We don't. Yeah.
Yeah, Wales.
Wales, example, going where Jack Shaw is training.
There just needs to be like a centralized European team with like a few of the real top guys here, because you look in American top team have obviously got like their stable of killers. Jackson Wink has got their stable of killers, maybe not so much anymore, but these are how all the gyms operate out there. And what we don't really have is that everyone's kind of training in drips and drabs. And look at Darren Till, wasn't probably open to training with Leon Edwards for a long time, knowing that he'll probably eventually fight him. Now he's in a weight class above, happily training with Leon Edwards. And so I think let's put these guys together with people like Gustafsson, who bring a different style, put them with Jack Shaw, Peter Yan, like all these guys. I think they just could be such centralized in such a nice way, but there's no facility like that in the UK for them to train at like that.
And heavier Yan as well, Polish Power Yan. He's shown he's shown to be a pretty damn good wrestler.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's people out there that will help Darren Till, but it's just
he's got to be willing to do that though. I think he's very set in his ways.
Yeah, I think he's very comfortable in Liverpool. I think that's quite clear that he's quite happy there. So I think it's unlikely that, when I think about people like when Charles Oliveira comes along and offer, look, come and trade, that is such a small group of people. Like the offer to go and work inside Charles Oliveira's camp is not exactly a very big one. Opportunity, but like you just said, I think Darren Till will want to stay in Liverpool and continue his life there, and hopefully he can find a way to get back to winning ways in Liverpool.
And we're going to have to see how long he's going to be out for this, because that eye looked very, very tasty last night. Very tasty. He was taking some massive, massive shots with a ground and pound from Derek Brunson, and his eye reminded me of when Ferguson fought Cowboy. And it was just like completely, it was coming there. Do you know what I mean? It really, really was. It was closing up, and it was bad all around the socket as well. It'd be good to see the medical suspensions from last night as well.
Another good reason to have to go and see Charles Oliveira as well. He's one of the best at just defending strikes on the ground. Like, he's so active when he's on his back, and you didn't see much from Darren Till, just kind of sitting in one place and just getting like battered by Derek Brunson. And it was just, that was a depressing thing to watch for me.
It was very much so. Very much so. Who have we got next week?
It's a break next week. We've got a break, and then the week after it's Anthony Smith against Ryan Spann.
Oh, anticipated. Ryan Spann.
Can't wait.
And then the week after, the return of Nick Diaz, UFC 266.
Ooh.
That's his Lawler. Beautiful.
Oh, mate, I can't wait.
It's going to be a terrible fight. It's going to be a terrible fight, but it's going to be so entertaining.
Just the name, just having him there alone is going to be exciting enough. But nevertheless, lads, it was great to catch up again. And
it really was.
It felt weird not doing this show every week. It really did. It really did. It was like a piece of me was missing. But now I feel fulfilled. And we'll be back talking about Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. As always, eloquent analyst, thank you very, very much for your 2 cents on the situations from last night. George, Casual Crush Corner, thank you very much. As always, man, we are the Fight and Talk 2 team. If you've enjoyed the content, hit like, hit subscribe, tell all of your friends and family, and we will see you next time.